Do you hate how bras cut in and cause bumpy back rolls, but you don't want to spend a fortune on back smoothing bras? You can make one yourself, actually, with this beginner sewing level upcycling project. Follow along and I'll show you how. It's easy. All right, for this project, you're going to want a bra that you otherwise like. Just maybe the back support is not wide enough or broad enough for you. For these videos, I literally just scoop up things that are marked way down. So I don't know, I maybe paid $5 for this bra from Walmart. But you start with a bra that you're happy in general with the cups of it. And then for your fabric that you're gonna use for the back of the bra to build the back support, you're going to use some type of supportive underwear or some other type of undergarment shapewear that would be kind of like Skims or Spanx. A good place to source this from is maybe you bought an undergarment to wear with a specific dress or outfit for an event and they were terribly uncomfortable. You don't ever want to wear them again. That's a great candidate for cutting up for this project. So just be open-minded about where you can source this from. Obviously, you can just buy power mesh. If I were you and I was looking to buy power mesh, I would just go to Etsy and search up the fabric stores that sell it. And then you can get it in whatever color you want. But this is just great for upcycling and reusing because most women do have several pieces of shapewear around the house that they don't ever want to put on again. So these are a pair of jockeys, and I'll show you why I chose these for this project. It's got a little secret in here that we're going to use here in a few minutes. I'll show you how we're going to use this to get extra fabric out of them. These are also sold at Walmart. Let's begin. Don't forget, for this video, we're using all very simple sewing techniques, so there's no need to get nervous or feel overwhelmed. It's very, very basic, and I'll walk you through. So essentially, you're gonna cut off the bottom portion of the underwear or shapewear that you chose. We wanna harvest as much of this upper band as we can, basically. Okay, so we have this band. Now we're going to open this part up and this unfolds. So whenever you see this seam in shapewear with this rolled edge, they literally just rolled it over to double up the support. If you want stronger support, don't undo this. But if you want more fabric, which I have found, honestly, more coverage goes further than stronger support as far as a back support bra goes, because you're just wanting that smooth back look. And you could always just tighten the back by cutting a smaller piece, you know, the width of the piece, if you need more support. I'm also going to show you in this video how to prevent rolling, because you don't want to put it on and the back roll up. All right, look at all that fabric we got out of there. That's wonderful. Okay, so the next thing that we need to do is we have to take this from a back closure bra to a front closure bra. Now, it would be actually ideal for you to find a front closure bra for this project, but the back closures are so much easier to find that I thought I would just go ahead and show you the way to convert a back closure bra into a back support bra, because it is an additional step. So if it has front closure, it's going to save you a little bit of time. When the bra was on the dress form, this was the top of the shoulder, kind of the crest of the shoulder. So I kept that in mind, and I'm gonna cut this just a little beyond where that crest of the shoulder would be. So we've got that snipped away, and I'm gonna cut this away. So we've got this piece now. Next, we're gonna harvest the closure because we need to change this over to a front closure bra. Again, I'm gonna keep some of that extra there so that I can sew, have something to sew to. This is pretty much trash. So we're going to cut this and this is going to get attached to the front, just like that. A key point to note is anything with stretch needs to be sewn with a cover stitch or a zigzag. Most people will have a zigzag on their multifunction home sewing machine. This, you don't want a lot of stretch, so you're just gonna do a few straight stitches right here. All of the work that I do on this bra project, I'm going to use contrasting thread, contrasting materials, obviously, so that you can clearly see everything I'm doing. Obviously, if you want your bra to look super cute, you're gonna ideally be picking out matching pieces and using matching threads. You want to make sure that you sew as close to the closure as you can get without striking the little metal pieces that are inside. You can kind of see them and feel them. And then you want to trim away the excess so that it doesn't irritate you. For the next portion of this, we're going to look at this piece that we cut away for inspiration of what our finished width will be. That will make sense in just a moment. Don't stress. This is gonna be the top going up into the straps, okay? And this is gonna be the back smoothing part. Gonna test the stretch. You can stretch it over some type of measuring tape or measuring tool to find out just how wide this piece needs to be. I'm gonna go ahead and open this up. And I'm gonna notch the center. It just helps so much when you're trying to find the center because we want to do something we call mirror folding and mirror cutting to make sure that this is going to match both ways. So that right there is the center, okay? I pressed these before I started, so I've got these lines as well that are kind of guiding me where I can put these. So I want this to be about an inch or so above the bottom edge because we want the back to swoop down as well as swooping up. We're only going to cut 1/2 of this, okay? And then we're gonna mirror fold it so that we know we get it just right. So I'm gonna start right here at this half point. Here we go. This marks pretty much the underarm. And we want a pretty close fit to the back of the arm to give as much support as possible. And this needs to be kind of narrow because it's got to meet up with a pretty narrow elastic. Honestly, if you really want to go for the gold with this, go ahead and swap out your strap elastic on the bra part to a wider elastic. You will not regret that. All right, so I'm going to flip that. This is our center again. This is going to be kind of narrow here. And we're only going to dip down just a little bit. Because remember, the more fabric we have, the better support we're going to have. You also don't want to make it like so hot and miserable, right? So I'll show you in a minute what this finished shape looks like. So this is what we're talking about when we talk about mirror folding. Just fold it over just like this. And of course it likes to roll. Remember, we're gonna address that in just a little bit. You have to address that when it comes to knits, or it's just gonna roll up. We've all seen that, the cheap shapewear that just rolls up into oblivion. Doesn't help at all. All right, and now I've got to cut the top back. Now remember, all of these edges need to be turned under and sewn with a cover stitch so that it doesn't roll or have an unfinished edge. If you don't have a cover stitch machine, which most people don't, just use a zigzag stitch. Cover stitch is essentially this. We see it on knits. It's got the two lines on the outside, and it almost looks serged on the inside. It's got this overlocking that finishes off the raw edge for you, kind of traps it. That's a cover stitch. It stretches, but zigzag stretches too. That's why you see zigzag a lot of times on bathing suits or lingerie. With knits, the needle really matters. So make sure you're using something like a Schmetz stretch needle, and that can help you not skip stitches. If it continues to skip stitches, I would also look at maybe changing the brand or type of thread. This is what it looks like when you use just a universal all-purpose type of needle. You get all of this dreadful skipping of the stitches, and people blame themselves or their machine, and it's usually just the needle. So remember, we're essentially taking each of these edges of the fabric and zigzagging them down. You want to give it a gentle stretch as you sew. That'll help it to stretch a little bit more. And I'm just trying to catch this edge in this stitch, but you can see how much better this is sewing with the stretch needle. So every now and then you're probably still gonna skip a stitch. It's not the end of the world, but it's 1,000 times better. And they're not hard to find, those kind of needles. I think I find mine at Walmart, or you can get them on Amazon or wherever. I'll try to link to them for you. Looking good so far. By the way, I do have a free gift for you. Thank you for stopping by my channel. I hope this helps. If you ever have any questions, just put them in the comments. I'm very active in my comments section. But if you want a free hems identification guide, it's full color, it's digital, so you can print it or just view it on your computer. But essentially it's kind of a catalog or an index of all the different types of hems that we see in formal wear, bridal, bridesmaids, prom, whatever. It's got pictures of all of them, and it tells you the names of them. So that way, if you want to learn how to do a certain hem, you need to do a certain hem on a dress or something for an event, you will be able to look up the hem to find the instruction on YouTube. So you can get that for free if you just go to bridalsewing.com, or I will have it linked to in the pinned comment and video description. All right, so this is going to be that upper back neckline, and I'm just still turning it right over. This one is not gonna need to be stretched quite as much while we sew it. I cannot wait to show you the finished result of this. I love the back support bras or the back smoothing bras. They're kind of called both of those things. They're just so expensive. They're usually like, I don't know, $80 at least, it seems like. Maybe you can find them cheaper somewhere, but I think this is really cool to be able to upcycle something that maybe you paid for really expensive shapewear and you just can't bring yourself to throw it away. So this is something really useful for it. And I'm definitely locking that zigzag stitch whenever I get to the end. Okay, so this next part is optional, but it's oh so helpful. So even if you're not ready to take on the sewing that I'm getting ready to show you, maybe just still follow along on this part. You can skip it if you want, obviously, but maybe just follow along to warm up to the idea, because it's really, really handy for costuming or any type of clothing to be familiar with working with boning. This is some very lightweight plastic boning. You can buy it by the length like this, or some people literally just use zip ties from the hardware store and cut them down to size. That's fine as well. These are actually marketed as boning. So what we're gonna do is, again, this is not entirely 100% necessary, but it can help prevent some of the rolling that happens. So we're gonna put in a stick of boning here for support. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut it just a little bit shorter than what we need. So I'm gonna cut it, and I'm gonna cut 2 of them. Okay, so I've got these cut, and we need to round off these edges so that they don't hurt. So I'm gonna kind of do that. Just rounding them off so they don't jab through. And if they're still a little bit too jagged on the ends, you can kind of soften them a little bit like that. Be careful, don't heat it up too much and then grab it. But that really gives you a much softer edge. It only takes a second or two. All right, so we've got these cut to where they're about this length. Now we're gonna take some ribbon and do the same thing. We're gonna cut it about the length of that part of the bra. Cut a couple of them. You can notice that I'm not measuring any of this. I'm essentially just using common sense. I'm just kind of putting it along here to see the length that we need. And I'm gonna go ahead and cut these to be shaped a little bit more like the edge of the bra. And then we're also gonna heat seal these. So these ribbons are synthetic, these satin ribbons. And that's wonderful because we can heat seal them to keep them from fraying. So even if you have like a little girl that has like maybe a little dress with a sash bow on it and the sash edges are fraying, you just cut them off clean and heat seal them real quick and they won't do that anymore. All right, so the technical word for these are called channels. Okay, so we're making little channels to put these bones down in. And it's called boning, but obviously it can be made of all sorts of things, plastic and whatnot. I do have a video I just did live, I don't know, like a week or 2 ago that shows what's inside a 100-year-old dress, and it shows the real whalebone that was in those dresses. So check that out if you want to see what that looks like, but that's where the word originally came from, right? After I turn a corner, I'm just going to go ahead and lock that again, come up here, lock that, and we need nice strong ends to this channel. Otherwise, we're going to have the same issue you get with underwires poking out and all that. I have a video about fixing that as well. So we're going to go ahead and run over the bottom of this a couple of times. All right, now we're going to slip it in there, push it all the way down. Now we're gonna cap off the top here with a couple of seams, really lock them in, and really kind of travel where you're not going in the same exact spot. You're just moving it over just a little bit. And this is gonna help prevent some of that rolling A lot of what we're doing is preventing the rolling. Don't you wish that's what the manufacturers did? Oh goodness, it's so annoying, isn't it? And it's something they really don't pay a lot of attention to, unfortunately. All right, so we got to do the other side as well. Same thing. Turn. Turn. Really lock it. The only thing you got to look out for with this, again, is just make sure you lock all your stitches, but you also want to make sure you don't get your stitches too close. You want to be really stitching at the edge of that ribbon. Not so far that you run off of the edge, but you don't want to crowd it so much that your boning doesn't slip in easily or doesn't have room to move around a little bit. All right, let's cap this off. Now it's time to sew it to the bra. And you'll find a lot of times on bras, they don't seam things together like this because it makes this uncomfortable nub. They typically just kind of overlap more like this, okay? So that's what we're gonna do to give you a nice smooth edge. And you can see how helpful it is that we finished the edges of these and that we aligned the width of these. That's gonna help it look pretty good. All right, so again, we're gonna really lock this. And we're gonna sew this several times as well. This does not need to be a stretch stitch because we don't wanna be stretching this way, right? And you can either sew this down or you can cut it away. It doesn't matter. We're almost there, guys. All right, so now we need to sew our straps. Again, it looks a lot better that we lined up the sizes, doesn't it? Same thing, just back and forth to really lock it. Then you're gonna move over just a little bit and do it again. The reason why you wanna overlap them and move it over and do it several times is if you just did it like in one place, it would curl, but you wanna make it lay flat. See what I'm talking about? And then cut off any excess nubs for comfort. I can't wait to put this on the dress form. So what I did, guys, to make the dress form super soft was I just wrapped quilt batting around it to size it up and to make it almost like really soft tissue instead of, the dress form is pretty hard. It's kind of like a hard styrofoam. So that way you can kind of see how much of an impression the bra leaves with the pressure. All right, let's go try it on. All right, so don't forget we have front closure now. That's so handy. So we're gonna put the back on the dress and let's spin her around. Wow, guys, look at how much smoother this is. How exciting, huh? And this is a very small bra for the size of this dress form, plus all the batting that I put in it. So it's really got a lot of tension on it and it's still behaving really, really well. There's that front closure that we put in. Again, I would probably trim this up a little bit and use matching thread. Same here, I would stitch to the very edge and then just trim away. Here's that boning that's keeping everything from rolling. Nice. What a difference, huh? There you go. Take your $5 bra and your unused support wear and make yourself back support bra. I hope this helps.